So the biggest impact on the wildlife seems to be also the sea turtles, who again have to come up to the surface to breathe and are surfacing into this oil and are dying, or as they're burning it off in other areas are getting caught into that. So that's the most visible manifestation of it at the moment. But again, all the shrimping and oyster harvesting and a lot of the fishing has been closed down as well.
Congressman, when you were either on the boat or when you were on the beach and you picked up the oil, was there a strong smell of oil, or did it ever at any time overwhelm you?
Yeah, no, that was the interesting thing. I was looking out, trying to sense that as well, and I really did not smell it. In fact, the oil that I picked up with my hand, I couldn't really smell. So it's almost a kind of a pure oil, if you will. It's very heavy. It's like picking up chocolate, really. And I found that peculiar as well, that I just couldn't detect the smell. But clearly you can see it in its pure form. It has a reddish color. When it hits the beach, it stains the beach, and it turns dark. And you can see it impacting the marsh grasses again in the bays where it has landed on land. So it's just so hard to predict. It's not like it's all coming ashore at once. It comes in these threads or these strings of oil based upon the tide, based upon the wind, and other factors like thick oil underneath the surface somewhere. It's just really, really complicated to predict. So they're just fighting it with everything they have. In fact, I talked to about 100 shrimpers who are outfitting their boats with these skimming booms because they're clearly not shrimping, but they're being employed in that way.
Well, and I wondered if you talked with any other businesses as well while you were there, besides the shrimpers, on how this is affecting them.
Well, one of the first gentlemen we met was one of the seafood buyers, and he told us he's lost 20 million pounds of shrimping that would have been harvested at this point, and he told me it's in the millions at this point. So he's one of the actual owners of businesses who's been directly impacted. Right off the beach, there's set up in one of the governmental buildings. There's a BP claims station. It's kind of like a lemonade stand. It's just got a handwritten sign, and it says claims, and BP employees are there to actually take claims from people who are directly impacted and have a reasonable claim, and my understanding will write a check on the spot. There's also a sheriff's deputy in there standing by just in case the situation gets a little volatile. So there's a great deal of passion here. I think you asked me the question about what was the highest impression I had, or the strongest impression. I think it was, of course, like I said, holding that oil in my hand, but also the will of the people to just fight this. And they're trying to be respectful of the command and control structure, but are really frustrated by this one particular agency and other agencies who seem to be thinking about long-term impacts versus the emergency situation that they're currently in, and that's very frustrating for them.
Congressman, when you leave the Gulf, will you leave New Orleans and go back to D.C. thinking to yourself that the federal government is doing all it can, or will you go back with the thought that we need to figure out how the federal government can do more? What is your mindset going back to D.C.?
Well, it's a mixed story. First of all, the command and control structures just were not there to be in front of a disaster like this. The second issue is, again, BP acted in a reckless manner. They had clear indications this well was causing problems. Their corporate culture basically created a pattern of denial, and here you have a worst-case scenario on your hands. In addition to that, the regulatory entity that's in charge, it seems there's clear evidence that they had too cozy of a relationship with this industry, and so we're not in front of potential problems that were brewing. Again, once that happened, the confusion about whether or not the oil company itself had to take charge, the federal government, who in the federal government was going to lead the environmental cleanup, as well as trying to stop the spill with the industry. All of that, for now, that has been cleared up. But clearly, in the beginning of this, there was a great deal of confusion. Now that has shifted to agency by agency problems who are maybe stovepiped and not looking at the short-term emergency, and are just thinking about longer-term, the systemic types of challenges that may exist from the oil spill, rather than working aggressively with the local populations who's just trying to save their way of life.
Congressman, I truly want to thank you for setting aside 10 minutes to join us tonight here on Drive Time Lincoln. Good to have you on the show.
Yes, pleasure to be with you. Thank you.